Good morning, I'm Amar Singh Pradhan. Let's begin with the top stories this hour. Trend of high-ranking officials running scot-free following resignations and sacking after serious allegations continues. Former CIA chief demands immediate action against those abusing authority. A government study concludes most official works are not performed without the involvement of middlemen at revenue officers. Service seekers compelled to bear the brunt. U.S. Air Force planes carrying humanitarian aid for Venezuela arrived in the Colombian border town. President Nicolas Maduro alleges the aid is part of a U.S. plot. And Barcelona maintained the 7-point lead at the top of the Spanish La Liga with a narrow win over Valladolid. Atletico wins against Rayo Vallecano. The commissioner at the Commission for the Investigation of Abuse of Authority, Raj Narayan Pathak, who was recently found to be involved in a corruption scandal, decided to resign from his post to save himself from possible impeachment. At a time when questions are being raised regarding what kind of action might be taken against Pathak, there are no precedents of action taken against disputed constitutional office bearers and judges. A few years ago, an impeachment proposal was filed against CIA Chief Lokman Singh Karki, citing gross misuse of power. After the Supreme Court cancelled Karki's appointment, the impeachment proposal boiled down. Questions were raised during a hearing regarding the irregularities done in cases handled by former Chief Justice Gopal Prasad Parazuli, who extended his tenure by lying about his age. After the Judicial Council handed him his retirement documents, further investigations were not carried out against him. Another Supreme Court Justice, Deepak Raj Joshi, who was accused of not being honest and lying about his educational qualifications, was rejected for the post of the Chief Justice. After the Parliamentary Committee rejected Joshi's appointment on the face of such grave allegations, none of the government authorities found it necessary to carry out any investigation. Meanwhile, former CIA Chief Suryanarayan Upadhyay says immediate actions should be taken against those abusing authority. Not taking actions against high-ranking officials of CIA accused of being involved in taking bribe money and misusing power, officials holding fake documents, reaching high-ranking positions, and those conducting illegal activities further establishes the absence of rule of law and impunity thriving in the country at the moment. A government study itself has noted there are difficulties in getting works done at the revenue offices that are criticized as the most corrupt state departments. The study has concluded that middlemen have increased the irregularities at the revenue offices. It was found that the organized cartels of bureaucrats and middlemen have led to making the service seekers believe that their works cannot be done without the middlemen, giving rise to additional charges. The Ministry of Land Management had carried out a study at 9 sample revenue offices from among the total of 129 across the country. According to the report, the officials delay the tasks of the service seekers while expedite the works when middlemen are involved. Around 95% of the service seekers who reach the revenue offices depend on middlemen who charge fees for their involvement. The revenue officials who should have disseminated the message that works can be done without the involvement of middlemen themselves encourage service seekers for the interference of the middlemen. 59% of the service seekers have said that the officials were found reluctant to cooperate, delayed tasks and expected additional benefits when the middlemen were not involved, while 74% of the service seekers said that works were not done without the involvement of middlemen. 26% were found to be using such people to get their works done on time. 59% of the service seekers reaching the revenue officers for land registration, share of properties and transfer of ownership have said they were highly dissatisfied with the services of the revenue office, while only 14% gave positive remarks. Most of the service seekers have complained of falling victims to the collusion between the bureaucrats and middlemen. Around 180 middlemen are found to be active in the office, which has 30 officials. Likewise, the study found that the officials themselves were involved with land mafias in selling up 2 annas of land as 2 rupees. not all the people who help with documentations are involved in unethical practices. However, most cases of irregularities have shown the collusion between the bureaucrats and middlemen. Related government bodies must initiate stern steps for legal actions against those violating the norms of a profession. Welcome back. More than 12,000 government officials from several ministries reached foreign nations to study and research on the implementation of federalism following the promulgation of the Constitution of Nepal in 2015. However, none of these government officials have been deployed at Province 1 at the moment. Bureaucrats who were trained in foreign nations should have been deployed at provincial government, which is the major unit to ensure the implementation of federalism. However, not even a single official who had studied and researched about federalism in foreign countries has been deployed at Province 1. Province 1 Chief Secretary Kedar Neupane said that works were underway to train the officials within the nation on implementation of federalism, as the bureaucrats who had reached the foreign nations for the purpose have yet to be deployed at the province. A total of 2,819 officials are deployed at the provincial government in Province 1. None of them had reached a foreign nation to learn about implementation of federalism. Officials themselves have alleged other officials of touring foreign nations based on nepotism, affiliations and power to gain experience and staying at the center. Slogans of providing access to administrative authority previously centered at Singh-Darbar to the local levels were widely promoted during the local level elections. However, the elected public representatives have largely failed to ensure the implementation of the assurance. And in this context, we asked the service seekers at Tansen municipality regarding what they think about the service delivery. Let us now take a look at what they have to say.
Public voice.
जसरी हुन्छ नगरपालिकाले चाहिँ आफ्नो ओडामा ओडा स्तरबाट नै के रे उनीहरुलाई चाहिँ रोजगारको अवसर दिलाएर रोजगारको चाहिँ अब सिर्जना गरेर धेरै के रे कृषिदेखि लिएर पशुपालनदेखि लिएर धेरै के रोजगारमा सिर्जना गर्न सकिन्छ।
पहिला सरसफाइ हुन्थ्यो, आफू स्थानीय निकायमा कोही नआउँदाखेरि आफूले नै गएर सबैलाई सरसफाइ गर्नुपर्छ यताउता भन्ने कुरा गरिन्थ्यो, तर अहिले चाहिँ त्यस्तो भएको छैन।
सेवा पाउन पर्ने फेरि अहिले नगरपालिका फेरि अब सदरमुकाम नै धाउन पर्ने स्थिति छ। त्यही भएर ओडाबाटै चुस्त दुरुस्त रूपले काम सम्पन्न हुन पर्यो।
सबैको कमी कमजोरी भएरै होला। हामीले भनेको समयमा जे गर्न भनेर हामी नगरपालिका भित्र आउँछौं त्यो चाहिँ समय अनुसारले हामीले त्यो गर्न पाएका छैनौं।
भर्खर बनायो, बजेटहरु धेरै करोड पारो, त्यहाँ बजेट सिद्ध्यार गरेर नभ्याउँदै चाहिँ फेरि भत्कन्छन्। यो राम्रोसँग हुन पर्यो।
जनताको आवाजहरुलाई जो पहिला सोच राखिएको थियो यस्तो हुन्छ उस्तो हुन्छ भनेर त्यो चाहिँ पूरा भएको छैन।
नगरपालिकाले कर्मचारी संख्या बढाएको छ र अब समायोजन भएर कर्मचारी आइसकेपछि अझ सेवा प्रवाह अझ चुस्त हुने र अझ प्रभावकारी हुने चाहिँ विश्वास गरिएको छ।
And it's now time for segment Public Pulse, where it texts us with their opinion.
Public Pulse.
The question is, why have the officials who had reached foreign nations to learn about federalism not been deployed at the provinces? Their options are A, no attraction, B, government's failure, and C, irresponsible officials. The voting is on. Type in a WS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. And now time for sports update.
Sports news.
Barcelona chalked out a hard-fought 1-0 win over Valladolid in the Spanish La Liga. With the win, Barcelona have maintained a 7-point lead at the top of the La Liga over second-place Atletico Madrid. Lionel Messi converted a first-half penalty to score the only goal of the match over Valladolid, who are struggling at the bottom half of the league. Messi took his goal tally to 30 this season, but missed another opportunity to score of the second spot kick of the match. Messi's second penalty was well saved by the keeper Jordi Masip. In another match, Atletico Madrid defeated Rayo Vallecano by the identical margin of 1-0. The Catalans have 54 points from 24 matches, while Atletico Madrid have 47 points. Internationally recognized former cricketer Jonty Rhodes is currently in Nepal for the Dhangari Premier League. Mentor of the team CYC Ataria and ambassador of the DPL, Jonty has praised cricket in Nepal and Nepalese cricketers. We now present you the conversation our colleague Sabina Karki had with Jonty Rhodes.
News. Thank you very much.
How are you and enjoying here?
Very good. It's been amazing. I mean, we've obviously had a little bit of weather affecting us over the last day and a bit, but we actually had a day off anyway. So the team has had a bit of a break, which is why you see lots of energy running around today, because they've had a few days off. And hopefully with the weather now, we can get back out and the ground dries up and the games aren't affected.
Happy with boys' performance?
Yes, I think so. You know, it's obviously 10 days ago we were the underrated team of the tournament with no big names, so to speak, amongst the local players especially. And now suddenly 2 matches later we're the favourites for the tournament. But I've just tried to explain to the guys that, you know, the only thing that we've done really well is that we've utilised the conditions. The going's being a bit tough for some of the teams, and they haven't really changed their approach to the game.
You have worked with Mumbai Indians and other leagues also. Why have you joined Australia team?
Well, I think the key here with Australia is that I'd heard about how the community had actually come together and put in money together from an ownership point of view. So it's not owned by one big corporate house. We have very few sponsors, but it's a community team, and that's what I'm looking to do now. So I have worked 9 seasons in IPL. Some really talented players, some players who play in T20 leagues around the world, and they make good money out of the game. There's young players here who are only just starting to earn a little bit of money, but they've got, you know, so many years ahead of them, and it's a good time to be developing their skills. So I'm looking to impart wherever I can at grassroots, and here in Nepal there's a big demand for experienced coaches to come and give some of the experience to the younger players.
Your role after DPL?
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, obviously for me it's a case of trying to not just promote the team but also promote the leagues here, because all the infrastructure that's taking place is so essential to the development of these young players. So I'm looking to speak. We've had meetings with government already with regards to the facilities we have here and how can we grow it in Dangadi and around Nepal. So I'm really excited to stay involved, you know, more on an ad hoc basis, but DPL 4.
You have been to franchise league across the world. How did you find on this?
Well, I think that the players here, obviously, they don't earn the same salaries. They take away, you know, they work a lot harder. Not in the fact that other players don't work hard, but the conditions here, you know, they're not international standard. If you're an international IPL player, but these guys, nobody's complaining. The conditions have been quite difficult. The hotels and the buses, and we walk to the ground sometimes when we go back, nobody complains. And I think that is the key here.
You have been to few places in Nepal and watched closely cricket. What is your opinion about Nepali cricket in a bigger picture?
Well, I think that, you know, obviously I've worked a lot with the under-19 players, but we've also seen in Kathmandu at the end of the camp we had a charity game, and it's some really talented senior players. They've just beaten the Emirates in a one-day series in the UAE away from home, so that's really positive. The key message for me to get to anybody involved with cricket, and it's not just the players, it's not just the administration, it's government, and it's also the private sector too, because we need sponsors, we need people putting money in, is to create infrastructure, to allow these boys to play as much cricket as possible. They're not playing enough cricket matches, and that's a message that I've been drumming across to as many people as possible, and hopefully we can see some change. Go for anything.
Do you want to say anything, Nepalese fans?
No, it's just been the hospitality has been incredible. We went out to the nature parks yesterday, so I'm making sure that I'm seeing as much of the country as possible, because certainly the greatest asset in this country is the people. So thank you for having me. Thank you.
Cameron's Dolphins club has lifted the Budasubba Gold Cup, defeating host Dharan Football Club 3-2 in a penalty shootout. In the final played at Dharan Stadium, the match ended in a goalless stalemate in 90 minutes of regulation play, and the winner of the title had to be decided through a penalty shootout. In the penalty shootout, Dolphins clubs Jongula, Pentega and Yatrik converted their penalty kicks, while 2 other players missed their spot kicks. Meanwhile, Prakash Budatoki and Dorje Tamang were the only players to convert the penalty kicks for Dharan Football Club. The penalty kicks by Milan Rai and Hemanta Thapa Magar were stopped by Dolphins goalkeeper, while Yogesh Rai's spot kick missed the target. This is Dolphins club's second title in a week. Dolphins had just won the Pokhara Cup in Pokhara last week. And before we wrap up this morning news bulletin, here's a look at the top stories one more time. Trend of high-ranking officials running scot-free following resignations and sacking after serious allegations continues. Former CIA chief demands immediate action against those abusing authority. A government study concludes most official works are not performed without the involvement of middlemen at revenue offices. Service seekers compelled to bear the brunt. U.S. Air Force planes carrying humanitarian aid for Venezuela arrived in the Colombian border town. President Nicolas Maduro alleges the aid is part of a U.S. plot. And Barcelona maintained the 7-point lead at the top of the Spanish La Liga with a narrow win over Valladolid. Atletico wins against Rayo Vallecano. And those were our latest headlines. Stay with us for more news and entertainment on KTVSD. Good day.